All right. Good morning and welcome to the Sports Debate Podcast. I am BA with James Trey Martin, and Jack Hurst. Hope you fellas are doing fine this wonderful Saturday, August the 1st. We've gotten rid of July. We're into August now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's football season, people. Excited? Okay. Anyway. Jack is just like, come on.
Really excited.
You got on the baseball questions. Shirt. You're talking football at the baseball trade deadline, but that's okay. You got football questions. Yeah.
You got football questions. Anyway, so we're going to start off. Tampa Bay is having all kinds of trouble this offseason with keeping players, and that whole organization is going bonkers. But did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers disrespect Baker Mayfield in contract negotiations as he claims? Let me give that one to you, James, because that's your division rival.
Oh, hey. Beauty before age today. So, let's see here. I am going to say no. I'm going to say no because for years and years and years, for me, I don't think it's ever personal. I think it's all business. I mean, these corporations, the NFL makes, what did it make? 31 billion last year, I believe, like something like that, some crazy astronomical number collectively. It's always about dollars and cents and numbers. And so it's not personal with Baker Mayfield. It's not going to be personal with him. So they're not disrespecting him. They're doing the art of business. What they're doing is negotiating and lowballing. That's just a part of the game. And I think Baker is in his feelings. I think he's in his feelings because Baker Mayfield has always been an overachiever. He's always been a player that's been somebody that had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he transferred from Texas Tech to Oklahoma and walked on. He walked on to Oklahoma and ended up being the first and only ever Heisman Trophy winner to ever walk on to a team and win a Heisman Trophy. So I get it. He's somebody that's average 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns passing, 12 interceptions, and had a decent passer rating. And he's ultimately been the second best quarterback in the history of Tampa Bay. So why are you treating him like this? No, it's just a business. It's just what it is. I think he, like I said, in his feelings, he can get over that. He can go out and prove what he's supposed to do this year and command that contract. I know that there aren't any other quarterbacks at this moment. It seems like they might be rebuilding because they, Levante David retired. Mike Evans went to San Francisco, and Vita Vea looks like he wants to leave. I don't know. It's just there's still a really good core there. They got Chris Godwin, Emeka Ibuka, Jalen McMillan, Tez Johnson, and they drafted the rookie Ted Hurst out of Georgia State in the 3rd round, who's going to be underrated, and I think is going to be really good for them. I just think that he goes out there and proves it. He gets him a contract like Dak Prescott, even though he and Dak Prescott have probably played about the same level, even playing ball. Neither one has gotten to a Super Bowl. So, I mean, this is what you got. It's hard to get a really good quarterback and keep them on a mainstay. And so this is somebody that I think they should keep, but I also don't have a problem with them doing the normal duties or due diligence of business. You lowball him and see what you can get out of him, and do what you're allowed to do. Franchise tag, all this other stuff. I just think that I don't have a problem with the business side, and I don't feel like they're disrespecting him. It's just the business.
Before you go, Jack, let me ask you a question with that, James. Now, would you say the same thing because Tampa Bay is spazzing out now too because Baker Mayfield had put that out there in the media? Now Tampa Bay is saying, oh, he's saying all this stuff to disparage our organization. So really, you're looking at two sides, if you want to count, acting like kids, in the way that you're saying. They're both, he said this and it hurt my feelings. Well, he said that and it hurt my feelings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the response, yes. That's kind of goofy, the response to it. But, I mean, it opens the door for it when Baker, again, comes out. Instead of allowing his agent to handle his business, he comes out and says something. And so now I don't know who is the organization's PR team, but they're not doing a good job. So I would imagine that, you just – I mean, at the end of the day, these are all human beings. But ultimately, I think the business in the beginning from the start is to lowball. It's just what the name of the game. They're always done it. It's just not a big deal. Your agent should be a good agent, get your monies up and get the money over some time and get you a good contract. Or if you don't like it, sit out. I mean, everyone else does that. I mean, just don't complain about it. I get it. You saying you're being a good steward there. You don't find it, but they understand the game. Understand the game. You're not playing the football game. You're playing the game of contract negotiation now. And this is where, like you said, the childish antics coming out. It's on both sides. Fine, it is what it is. But that is the game. So
I understand all of what you're saying, but the Buccaneers at the end of the day are disrespecting Baker Mayfield, not as a person, as a football player. The belief they have on him to be their franchise quarterback, it's definitely not personal. I know when Baker Mayfield was with the Cleveland Browns, they get Deshaun Watson, and he's starting to complain, obviously, because he's out the door. And when they were negotiating with Deshaun Watson, and they said they like to have an adult in the room, meaning they got fed up with Baker Mayfield's antics, the Browns. He went to Carolina. I mean, he was given the starting job basically over Sam Darnold. It was called a competition when Mayfield went there, but we knew they got Mayfield to be the starter. He had a leg up on that so-called competition, and he got the job, which is very ironic now. Darnold's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and Mayfield wound up with a career revival at Tampa Bay. He went to the Rams. He did well as a backup. But the bottom line is he never was going to replace Matthew Stafford. That wasn't even an issue. So he went to the Buccaneers, and he revived not only his career, but he kept the franchise relevant until the end of last year when they kind of blew the division, at the end. And they've been in the mix, Tampa Bay, since losing Tom Brady. He's been a good, I don't want to say bridge quarterback, and I don't exactly want to say replacement, but you can't have Baker Mayfield come there and make him the face of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer franchise, in a sense, have him go to all these community affairs, keep pumping him up, telling him that he's the man, you're the face of the franchise, yet, kind of lowball him a little in the negotiations. I mean, it's okay what they're doing from a business viewpoint. I get that. And chances are I would do the same if I were the Buccaneers. I would be disrespecting his abilities as well. But you said it best, I think, before. Baker Mayfield looks at himself as being an elite quarterback. He looks at himself being as good as anyone else. You yourself said, James, he has a chip on his shoulder. He has a chip on his shoulder to show everyone how good he is. Kevin Stefanski, who coached him with the Browns, is now the Falcon coach. And he vented about Stefanski. He said, I'll see you twice this year, pal, something to that effect. When they play them. It's not personal with the Buccaneers. I get it. It's a business decision. It's a type of business decision that I might make as well. But I would be disrespecting them too. I mean, like, think of it. They're disrespecting his abilities as a quarterback. And if Mayfield has a great year this season, they could franchise tag him. And they could kind of stretch it out and then offer him the money. But they're not showing a big belief in Baker Mayfield. I mean, in other words, the Buccaneers in a spot that's hard to get out of. They have no one else who could be their QB. He's got to be the guy. But is he their guy going forward the next few years? They're not sure. That in itself is a sign of disrespecting him as a quarterback. He's been in the league long enough. We know what Baker Mayfield can do. He could potentially have a terrible year. He could potentially have a great year. But we know what Baker Mayfield is about at this point. Is he worth the investment or not? And by the Buccaneers hemming and hawing, he feels they're disrespecting him. And as a football player, I see his point.
I disagree with that about the disrespect as a player, only because of the level of where Baker Mayfield is. Is he a top 10 quarterback? And should you get paid $50 million a year for being that type of quarterback? And I'm going to say, no, he's not a top 10 quarterback. I'm saying maybe at best, maybe top 12, top 15 quarterback. I can name several other quarterbacks that probably would be closer to that amount of money. Now, the way that, like B eloquently stated yesterday in regards to the amount of money and how incentivized it was, I get it. I thought about it yesterday. I get what you're saying in that regard, but I don't have a problem with the organization looking at it from that point, because you're looking at how much more are you going to get out of an overachieving quarterback who's 6 foot, who's got a good arm, but not great, and has accuracy, and he can run a little bit, but he's 31 on the wrong side of 30. And does that get better or worse? And they're trying to give him 2 years instead of a long-term 4 to 5 year contract that may have a lot more guarantees in the contract, and he begins to wane.
Well, that's exactly it, James. He said it best. They don't have faith in him long-term to be their quarterback. That's a sign of disrespecting his abilities as a franchise quarterback. They're not disrespecting him as a person, as character, even though there's a back and forth going on right now. If you don't have faith in someone, it is a sign of disrespect. If he's your franchise guy, you can't say you're a franchise quarterback. We want you to be quarterback here for years to come, but then not back it up with a contract.
I can't say it's disrespect when I look at the history. You brought up Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold didn't really get a good contract until he went out and proved that he could do something, play at an elite level. He played at an elite level with a great quarterback coach in Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. And albeit he did have a couple of bad games at the end of that season, but overall body of work was really good. So is Baker Mayfield's here. But you look at his history as well. I just don't think that when he went to Seattle had a great infrastructure in place for them. I don't know if the Buccaneers right now, and that's probably where they're seeing it, is that they may want to dismantle because they don't have the infrastructure like they had when Tom Brady was there in place to be able to go on and win a championship. Is that the guy you want to invest in if you're thinking that you're going to you have a potential for winning the championship? And I don't see that them having a potential, especially the last couple of years. Baker Mayfield may have put up a whole bunch of numbers, but albeit they were the winners of the most losing division in football. So I mean, it's just not saying much, is what I'm saying. And so, do they want to be dominant, or do you want to be middle of the road? And I don't know. And Baker Mayfield is a middle of the road quarterback, and maybe their mindset is to say, I'm not saying they're disrespecting him, but at this juncture of his career, does he? And when they brought him in the beginning, were they considering him a bridge quarterback? Like you mentioned, you weren't sure, but were they considering him a bridge quarterback or somebody they can look at as a face of the franchise? And I'm not saying like they're not on the same page about who Baker Mayfield is. And I've never seen Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's done some good things. I think he's overachieved, but he has a ceiling, and his ceiling, he has probably a higher floor than his ceiling is with a low ceiling. And so I just think that's where he's at. And they may not want to do anything further with him, but they weren't disrespecting him. They were willing to give him some money. I mean, give him a decent contract with incentives. He's got to go out there and play with it. That's the thing. It's not disrespect. It's just where your talent level is and where they are as a team. And this is where we can try to meet between the two. And I think he's just, again, this is something he's been having to prove his whole career. And I don't have a problem with Baker Mayfield thinking that. But the facts is that, okay, you hadn't won a championship with anybody. And so, I mean, you've reached expectations. I mean, or maybe exceeded expectations and where your level of play is. And that's what I mean, that's just my opinion.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. To ask the question, it seems like Tampa Bay is rebuilding their team from the outside, because you got to look at it, because Vita Vea is having the problems, the Baker's having a problem. They just got rid of Mike Evans. Like you said, the linebacker retired. There's a lot of things going on in that organization that's telling me that what they want to do is get fresh people in there, fresh players in there. So I guess you could say that this is, I don't really think, and I tell you the truth, I don't think really Tampa Bay had an intention to pay Baker Mayfield. I don't think they had the intention to do so, because I think they're looking to the future, and they need to get a quarterback in there. This next coming up draft, I don't know how they're going to do it. Some teams will go up there and make a fast cash for grab, whatever they can get in a top 10, and they might do that. They might have a plan in effect. So they're thinking, well, he might not be the quarterback the next season. We're going to have to get one, and probably another veteran. I mean, does that seem like what Tampa Bay is doing to you, or is it just me?
No, fair enough. Yeah, I did for all intents and purposes, this seems to all signs.
Well, I want to move on from this, but just let me mention with the Mike Evans thing. They tried to re-sign Mike Evans. He wanted to go. That was a Mike Evans move. That wasn't a Buccaneer move. They didn't get rid of Mike Evans. Mike Evans kind of got rid of the Buccaneers. Not that he was mad. He wanted to change the scenery. He went to the Niners.
Which that could be indicative of someone thinking that we're not going any further than him, especially when they've reached the mountaintop with Tom Brady, and what winning looks like now. Yeah. And so when you're looking at the situation that you're in, you're like, okay, I don't want to play hard for pennies anymore. I mean, or even for dollars. I don't want to play hard for just feel good moments. I want to try to win another championship. And I think he went to a team, obviously, where he feels that they can contend, which is a whole nother question in itself with the way things look with their wide receiving core. But yeah, we can move on. But yeah, I think that they're not disrespecting it.
All right. So on to another NFC South team. Who would the Atlanta Falcons be better off with at starting quarterback, Tua or Mike? Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, they didn't get Tua to be Penix's backup, but then again, they didn't draft Penix number 8 overall in the draft and shock everyone a couple of years ago for him to be a backup either. So I think this is one competition that's very intriguing. Unlike the Cleveland Brown competition where we expect Deshaun Watson to be the starter, Shedeur Sanders the backup, and everyone's going to be okay with that because they know Sanders is going to be waiting in the wings if Watson slips up a little bit. Yeah. And at Minnesota, we all kind of know Kyler Murray is going to, in all likelihood, get the job unless he really struggles in training camp and J.J. McCarthy's lighting it up. We know who has the lead, but in this one, I mean, the thought is maybe Tua has a little bit of an edge because Penix has been hurt. But then again, Tua is one concussion away from his career ending. Should he even be playing? You kind of wonder who's been more damaged injury-wise. I mean, if I were Tua, I would have retired with all those concussions. But the bottom line, he's playing. Tua's never quite reached his potential. We thought he might be a great quarterback coming out of Alabama. And all he's done, he's been okay. That's about it. He's certainly not Hall of Fame material. I mean, Tua's been good enough to be a starter, but not one of the better starters in the league. And it's intriguing. And they got a new coach, Kevin Stefanski. Does he have any loyalty to anyone in this? That's the question, too. When he met with ownership to get the job, a lot of times ownership indicates what they want you to do. For example, does John Harbaugh get the Giant job if he says, I think Jackson Dart is awful. We got to look for quarterback elsewhere. John Harbaugh then wouldn't get the Giant job. Robert Saleh, if he says, Cam Ward, well, I'm not completely sold on him. He doesn't get the Titan job then as head coach. But I wonder with Kevin Stefanski, what he said. He may probably looked at Penix and was somewhat complimentary at the very least, saying, look, I think he could do this or that, but the idea that they're bringing Tua in. Now, are they bringing Tua in because Penix has been hurt? Because if Penix is ready to play, you don't bring in a Tua. You just don't, because Tua provides too much competition and he's a career starter. You bring in a backup, or you bring in someone who you know is going to be a bridge quarterback until Penix is ready to assume the starting role. But if Tua plays really well, he doesn't necessarily have to look over his shoulder. As long as he keeps playing well, if they make him the starter, he's going to continue as the starter. And the same with Penix. And why would Tua come to Atlanta unless he was going to start? I mean, why would he come there unless Tua visualized, in his own head, okay, if it's a competition, Penix is hurt, I can get the job. It's very intriguing. And, and who should be the starter? I'm not there in training camp the whole time. That's the question, right? Man, who should the Atlanta Falcons be better off with? What gives them a better chance to win in that division with the Saints, the Panthers, the Buccaneers to contend with? 10-7 wins you that division in all likelihood. 9-8 might win you that division. 8-9 actually has you in the mix. Falcons have been the ultimate underachiever in that division. The ultimate underachiever. Year after year, people pick them to win that division, and they haven't done it. This year, they're not. I think the Saints have caught up to them this year, maybe past them. The Buccaneers are going backwards, as we talked about a little while ago, but the Panthers won the division last year at 8-9. But nevertheless, the Panthers, maybe they're going to improve this year a game or so. I don't know. It'll be about what they were last year. Who gives you a better chance to win the division? Let's assume both guys are healthy. Who's got more upside, Tua or Penix? Who's got more potential to be a top-notch NFL quarterback? And I'd have to say Tua. I'd have to kind of go with Tua that he still has untapped potential despite all the years he's been in the league. So who should start, who shouldn't start? But with that said, I think Penix is your long-term guy. You have to, live or die with if you're the Falcons. I know it's a bold move, and it made it sound like I said to a moment ago. Because look at the wide receivers two ahead at Miami. Okay, Waddle and Hill. Look at his coach, Mike McDaniel, who's this offensive whiz who Jim Harbaugh just got for the Chargers. Yet, how well did he really do? Penix, let's see what he could finally give you. You drafted him number 8 overall. You upset the whole structure of the organization by drafting him so high. Now's the time. If Penix is healthy, roll the dice, go with Penix. The heck with Tua's feelings. If his feelings are hurt, well, I'm a starting quarterback in this league. You tell him, well, then you should have stayed with Miami. They wanted to move on from you. For who? For Malik Willis? Come on. I would gamble on Penix. That's me.
Man, I got so dizzy with all the back and forth, Jack. You were going through those those skiers that go through the slalom, going through back and forth like this. That's just what your conversation and communication was doing.
That's what they do in the back room, James. That's how they talk. They don't come to a decision like the snap thing. They go back, forth, back,
You
forth.
were doing this, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I like what you said about Michael Penix. I like what you said about Tua Tagovailoa. I think Michael Penix, if you look back in his career, he's had some significant health issues. They were willing to look past that. He got past. He got the Bill of Health stamped, signed, sealed, and approved, and he was able to get drafted in the top 10 by Atlanta. And I don't think it's a bad move, honestly. But in the short term, I mean, look, Michael Penix threw in 2022, 2023, 65%. 4,600 yards, 31 TDs in 1 year, and 4,936 TDs in the other year. So extremely talented. He got a strong cannon of arm. He's just a question mark, clearly, with health. The health I think, is the biggest issue. Maybe a little bit of footwork because he had a little bit of inconsistencies with some of his throws that I looked with some of the tape. But that being said, he's super talented. The ceiling is high. But is he a fit with Stefanski and what he wants? We saw what the Stefanski drafted in the 3rd round last year in Cleveland. That was Dillon Gabriel. But Dillon Gabriel is a quarterback that fits his schemes. He wants quick, short throws and to go sort of like a major variation of the old West Coast offense. But he wants the ball out quick. I mean, I think Michael Penix can do that, but Tua fits that bill a lot better than Michael Penix. And I'm just saying, I know Tua is having some back issues right now. He's not starting training camp, so that's not good in his favor. But you got him for $1 million. He's already paid from what he got in Miami. He showed you what he can do in Miami when he's healthy. When he's not having a concussion, when his line's blocking for him, you got the great wide receiver duo that in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Those guys were elite when at their peak. They were elite, and Tyreek Hill was the #1 player in the NFL in Miami. So 1 year. So I would just say that Tua, if he can stay healthy, barring that big if he can stay healthy, he's probably going to be a better fit with Stefanski's offense than Michael Penix. I don't know if Stefanski. A lot of people don't like Stefanski, and I think a lot of it was more so with the issues with him and Shedeur Sanders. But this is a guy that did get 2-time Coach of the Year, and Baker Mayfield, when he won a playoff game, it was under Stefanski in Cleveland. So I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Is that like Cleveland has been the worst since 1980 something. Before, yeah,
when they got the franchise back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that they were garbage, and they had some moments with Stefanski there, and so, but I mean, obviously they fell off. But I'm gonna go with Tua, and thinks he would be because they're both injury prone. So if we had to wash that, I think the better talent is in Michael Penix Jr. I think the better fit with Stefanski is Tua Tagovailoa.
I'm gonna put it this way: I don't think Tampa Bay knows what quarterback. I have to tell you the truth.
You mean Atlanta?
The fans. I mean Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta doesn't know what quarterback that they want. It's like Stefanski walked into the situation. Penix is not somebody he drafted. It's something that Atlanta had done. I don't know. And they got Cooper Rush, as we were told by Sonia last night, as a backup quarterback. They have another guy, Strand, but he's a rookie. I don't know where Atlanta's going right now. I mean, I don't know if either one of them. I mean, Tua's got the weapons. He's got a better offensive line with Atlanta's line. Offensive line for Atlanta is very underrated. People don't understand. They're a top 10, could be a top 5 offensive line this year. But you're getting Tua at near the end of his run. You got a beat up Michael Penix who can't seem to stay on the field for more than 6 games. I'm not understanding what Atlanta's doing here. I'm just not. They got just about as bad quarterback situation as Minnesota does. You know, or Cleveland, really, because it's like nobody knows. We got to have quarterback battles. You should go into your I'm sorry, I'm a traditionalist. You should go in a training camp knowing who your quarterback is. There shouldn't be no quarterback battles unless you don't have you have rookie quarterbacks that are battling for that position, or younger quarterbacks.
Thank you. I've argued against these competitions because what they tend to do most of the time is diminish someone. The guy who doesn't win it, you're telling him he lost the competition. And most of the time they know. I can understand. I'm sorry, cut in, Brian. You're hedging your bets like Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy. Well, what happens if Kyler Murray gets injured and you say he's the starter coming to camp? You're worried about J.J. McCarthy's feelings? You tell J.J. McCarthy, we drafted you high. You didn't produce the first couple of years. Maybe it wasn't your fault completely that you were injured, but this is how we do things. Okay? And once in a while, yeah, I can understand you honestly have no clue who you want your starter to be, and maybe that's the case here. But I don't like the idea of calling it a competition. You have enough tape on Tua. You have enough tape on Penix. Make one the starter, and if that starter doesn't play well, they then lose their job, okay, later on. Then you replace them with someone who could, give you a better chance of winning. I'm sorry I cut in. But
I mean, I know. I got to say I disagree with both of you. I mean, I think a competition, first of all, you work in the field where it's nothing but competition. You have to be in a level and saying that you have to be able to compete. You can't just sit back. I need you to be elite. I need you to be saying, I mean, we understand when Drew Brees was there was no competition, but he was already set in stone as the clear cut quarterback. But in this situation, you don't know. You don't know with Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. You bring in Kyler Murray, yes.
Everyone knows Kyler Murray is going to be the starter unless he totally screws up. And you want to know something? If you make him the starter in the beginning and he totally screws up, then he loses the job. Then it's okay. Everyone sees he's a screw up. Okay? But don't call it a competition that J.J. McCarthy's going to lose. They haven't made a decision yet, but it's obvious he's going to lose that so-called competition.
Yes, I think only that because they're assuming that Kyler Murray is going to come in and take the position, but it still has to be a competition because you drafted a guy that high and you want him, ultimately, you still want him to be, you want to see that there's something in him to say he can still be that guy there. Even if they may not believe that or may not see that, you invested in that guy. So you want you want Kyler Murray to push him. They really don't want him to beat him. They want him to
push
win.
Yourself, you be ready. I mean, Brian's right. Establish who your starter is. Get him the majority, the reps. Everyone knows the situation. By these so-called competitions, you're creating uncertainty at the quarterback position, and that's what's going on with the Falcons. There's uncertainty. I mean, it kind of affects the whole team. This isn't like a position at guard where you have a couple of rookies and a free agent you brought in, and you're patching the position up. You better be on solid ground at quarterback.
In Atlanta, there should be a quarterback competition. Why? Because these guys are injury prone. For one, you don't know. I mean, and that's not just now, it's just history. You don't know if Michael Penix will be able to be that guy because of health. And maybe, I'm not just saying, maybe Tua could have been in there for $1 million to be a bridge until Michael Penix gets healthy. But still, I don't have a problem with the competition because you want to make sure a guy is on the up and up and making sure he's doing his due diligence to be the guy that we drafted. I don't have a problem with that. Look, we brought in another former top 5 quarterback that was drafted in, and he played well where he's at. He has an opportunity to start if you can't make it. So you need to come in and say, hey, the reason you drafted me at number 8 overall, I'm going to come out and show you that and play like that. So I don't have a problem with competition, especially if there's little to no stats there. And I'm not saying that they didn't give him a lot of time. I mean, Kirk Cousins was already in coming out the gate as a starter because you paid him that amount of money. So maybe it's the organization that does have problems because at the time I disagreed with drafting Michael Penix Jr. with his health issues and his age. And you already have picked up Kirk Cousins at the time paid him all that money. I didn't think you should have drafted a quarterback that high at that time, but they did. And when and the quarterback that they did draft, I thought should have been drafted in the top 10 because of his talent and how he played at Washington. That being said, here we are now, more injuries. I just don't know for sure if Penix can be the guy. I think he can be a guy. I think I just mentioned. I think the ceiling is higher, but you got a coach that doesn't, like you said, Jack, didn't draft that guy. So why can't he have a quarterback competition to see what he can get out of Michael Penix Jr.?
Well, let me ask you a question then, James. Without the injury history, and you got Penix and Tua as quarterbacks, if somebody held a proverbial gun to your head, who are you going to pick, Tua or Mike?
I already said that Michael Penix has the higher ceiling. So I'm definitely picking Michael Penix Jr. Definitely picking him
the whole season.
To start the whole season. Because again, I drafted him that high. I probably would. I'll be honest with you. If there was no injury history like this significance, maybe we don't have. There's so many variables. I didn't think Raheem Morris was a good offensive-minded coach. He wasn't. The guy he brought in, the offensive scheme wasn't all that great, so it didn't really curtail to the talents of Michael Penix Jr. because there's plenty of talent there. Like you said, there's an underrated offensive line there. Mm-hmm. It's just I don't think that the scheme was good. I don't think the scheme was really good. But that being said, it's hard to argue that the history of the injuries is there because it's there. So it's really hard for me to look at it that way. And now you have another coach that's in here under the helm as the leader that has a different scheme that doesn't require the super arm talent of Michael Penix Jr. It just requires somebody to be accurate and hit short and intermediate throws and every now and then a deep ball pass. I don't know if Penix can fit that mode for what Stefanski wants. But I mean, it is what it is. Again, I'm not saying he's not talented. Again, if it were me and he didn't have the injury history, like I said, his ceiling is higher than Tua's. He has a much higher ceiling because of the arm talent that he has. So,
what about you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm not sure he has a higher ceiling per se, but I said I would start Penix for the simple reason, even though he's not Stefanski's guy, Stefanski got the job based on giving Penix a full shot because the organization drafted him number 8 overall. And if you discard Penix, you make the number 8 overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago seem like a wasted pick. So he's got to give Penix every look. But who has greater upside? Tua's got great upside himself. It just hasn't quite come out. And
I don't know.
I guess
I don't know,
both
Jack.
guys are injury prone. It's like last man standing. Whoever doesn't get it, the first guy who gets injured eliminates himself in a sense. Could both stay healthy a whole season? Whoever you start, what are the chances of that guy being healthy the whole season? That's a fact as well.
I don't know, Jack. I'm gonna have to say slightly disagree with that because I'm looking at the GM got fired, the coach got fired, and I think the last straw might have been drafting a quarterback that's injury prone. I mean, nobody didn't get fired until after that
Well,
injury.
I think to sum it up, we should predict who's going to win the quarterback competition, and who I think is going to start, not who I think should start, who I think will start. I think Tua is going to be the starter. I think he has an edge there. They wouldn't have gotten Tua from Miami to beat Penix backup. So unless Penix completely outplays him in training camp, Tua is going to be starting the first game.
There you go. I mean, I got to call you. You need another.
Who I think they're going to be starting. This is, in my opinion, who they should.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I was about to say, man, you need another job as a jockey because you ride that horse straddling.
And you need to listen. You need to listen, James. I'll repeat it again. I said who I think they are going to be starting, not who I think they should. So
okay, gotcha.
Listen to what I say. Okay, sometimes what I say does make sense. Sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't. I'll agree with you on that.
Actually, to me, it's not that complicated. Tua Tag has got the experience. Penix does not really have that experience as Tua does. Tua is going to start. That's all there is to it. Until Tua gets hurt, that's what it's going to be like. And then Penix will step in there, and then he'll do the same thing they did with Kirk Cousins. Penix is just, we don't know his full potential because he can never get his full potential behind out there to play on a consistent basis. And that's the thing that's killing him right now because he can't function through a whole season. And if he could do that, then he would be the starting quarterback. We wouldn't even have Tua in camp. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have even signed him.
The last 2 years of his college career, he played healthy. And when he played healthy, I mentioned those numbers. It was phenomenal. I think the biggest thing is just he's got to have a really good scheme around him. And they need a little bit more out of their receiving core. I think you got a good tight end. You got a first-round draft pick in Drake London. But when he played at Washington, there was like 3 or 4 guys there that were like potential number ones. And I think that helped. Considering a guy like him that can't be, he's very immobile because nowadays quarterbacks are at least mobile now. And he's not that guy to move around like that, especially with those injury histories. I mean, with that injury history. So I think the biggest thing is Penix, again, I still believe his ceiling is higher, but at the same, because when we saw what Tua could do with supreme talent around him, if you have supreme talent around, which you do, obviously, they just need maybe one more receiver. You need one more receiver. You said they have an underrated line, and I think Penix can excel. I think he can excel. But the question is health. It's just the health. But I agree with both of you. I think I mentioned I think Tua is going to start the season. If that back holds up, we'll see. It might be Cooper Rush.
All right, moving on to the next question here, which is a good question, by the way. This is a really good question. This is a
Then why we should have given it a little more time, guys. But we'll do the best we can.
We got 16 minutes here. We're good. Let's knock it out.
Who was a greater point guard, Isaiah Thomas or Steph Curry? I'm going with James on this one. Go ahead, James.
Yes, since Isaiah's my guy, Jack. He is my guy, and he's my guy in this question here. Why is he the greatest point guard? Because he actually is a point guard. Steph plays point guard, but he masks as a point guard. He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. He's definitely a shooting guard. He is not a point guard. He plays a great role, but he is not the playmaker that Isaiah Thomas is. Isaiah Thomas could have scored 30 points a game if had that been the situation, but that wasn't the situation. He was deferred to being taking less points, which he averaged about 19.2 points a game. His peak in 82 to 85 was 21 points a game. That being said, he averaged over his career 9 assists a game. Right now, Steph is at 6.3. So 9,000 total career assists, which is what the make of a traditional point guard should be, is making sure you're directing and you're the field general out there directing the ball and getting it out to your playmakers. That's what Isaiah Thomas was doing. And he's won 2 championships from it. I can't say what they could have done it. They got 2 championships with their team. 4 championships for Steph Curry. Is there a question mark as to how stacked were their teams? I'm not going to go there. They won 4 championships. That you got to give credit where credit is due on both sides. I think Steph Curry is probably arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest shooters in the league, in league's history. He's just phenomenal. My man can shoot from half court with ease, and it's just awesome what he can do. But the question asked is, who's the greater point guard? Or excuse me, let me look at that again. Make sure who's the greater point guard, Isaiah Thomas or Steph Curry? I'm going with Isaiah Thomas. Again, I just think that he could score and he could direct, and I think Steph wasn't that great in that regard. As a matter of fact, Steph played better off ball. You would see him run around all the time and the ball getting in his hands and he's popping those threes. So on ball point guard, to me, playmaker is Isaiah Thomas without question. There's no debate about that.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you a little story with okay, this might seem to have nothing to do with it. There's 1,500 meter runner named Tom Byers years ago, and he was asked to be a rabbit during a race in Oslo, and during that race they had the greatest 1,500 meter runners in the world. And a rabbit's job is to go out as fast as you can, set a fast pace for the other guys, and then you drop off at some point. But his only job requirement is to set a fast pace, and then everyone assumes you're going to drop off. Byers set a blistering pace and got far ahead. And the rest of the guys miscalculated. They let him get too far ahead, and then Byers started to fall apart at the end. But he somehow hung on and miraculously won the race against a world-class field. And they asked him later, weren't you supposed to be a rabbit? And he said, I was, but no one told me I couldn't win the race. My point is, no one tells Steph Curry, no one should say a point guard shouldn't score, because he's a great scorer, a much better scorer than Isaiah. That doesn't diminish him as being a point guard. Isaiah could never shoot the ball on the par with Steph Curry. He's never the force of Steph Curry. Had Steph Curry been on the bad boy Pistons instead of Isaiah, I could say they would have won 3-4 NBA championships instead of 2. I'm going to say that. Why not? Just like Isaiah says, if Kevin Durant was on the Bulls, they would have won the same amount of championships if he was on instead of Jordan. That's what Isaiah says. I'm saying if Steph Curry was on, they would have won an extra championship. He doesn't throw the ball away in panic and throw the ball away into Larry Bird's hands. Isaiah did great things. Isaiah was a great point guard. Don't misunderstand me. Great point guard, even though his own coach, Chuck Daly, preferred John Stockton as the point guard for the Dream Team. Chuck Daly never advocated for Isaiah to be his point guard, to even be on that team. You haven't heard, and that goes to coaching. Steve Kerr might not have even taken an Olympic head coaching job if they left Steph Curry off the team. He would have been outraged. That should tell you something about leadership. Point guards are supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to be running the show. They're your leaders in a sense, okay? And how much the coach advocates for them says a lot. Isaiah was great. He's an all-time great, I'm not arguing that point at all. But even if he tried to score like Steph Curry, he never would have been a scorer like Steph Curry. Steph Curry.
How do you know that? What did he average when he was in college? What did he average? B, if you can look that up. What did Isaiah Thomas average as a scorer in college?
He was a better player than Steph Curry in college, a better college player than Steph Curry.
It doesn't diminish.
I can tell you,
I'm telling you.
Carmelo Anthony was a better college player, I can argue, than Isaiah. But he wasn't a better NBA player.
You like you said, what Steph Curry was told not to do. You can reciprocate that. What was told Isaiah, what he was not to do, and in scoring. Don't take the ball and score.
Would have been. Listen, Joe Dumars could have scored a lot more. If Isaiah was a true point guard, Joe Dumars would have been a little more of a force. Isaiah was a point guard, like Steph was a point guard, but Steph could score. Steph is one of the greatest shooters, if not the best, in NBA history. Okay, Isaiah's not. Isaiah's a decent shooter and a great player. Isaiah can take over a game. I'm not arguing that. He has taken over games. He's great. I'm not putting, I'm not.
And the game has changed. I'm going to have to say this. The game has changed as well. They weren't required to shoot as many threes as much as they do now. These guys, and when you look at his scoring mid-range, it was phenomenal. I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas. It was phenomenal what he was able to do. But again, he wasn't required to shoot the ball as much as Steph Curry does. And because Steph Curry can bomb from three all over, but the game was different then. The game didn't require guys to shoot that many threes like that. I mean, it was a lot better. I mean, to me, the game optically is a lot better then than it is now because of how droll and how just no defense as well. It's another thing. Steph Curry plays in a league that allows you to just do whatever you want to do. You can, of course, you're going to score that many threes because nobody's going to be hand checking you and doing all the different things that Isaiah had to do with Continual.
You think Steph Curry plays in a league that allows you to do what you want? Look, when Isaiah played, what the Pistons got away with, what the league allowed.
It wasn't just the Pistons. It wasn't just the Pistons. The Celtics were like that. Everybody played like that. It's just that the bad boys of Detroit
Pistons took it to another level. Okay, but I don't condemn them for that. If they can get away with it, fine. You get away with what you can get away with. I'm only responding to that because you're telling me the game has changed. Okay,
dramatically.
I mean, both guys, Isaiah and Steph Curry, you can argue who were running the show for their teams. Now, I'm not so sure that Isaiah was the best player on those Piston teams. I'm not debating that at all. He was their best player. But in a sense, Joe Dumars was running the show in a sense at times, okay? In a sense. But for the Warriors, Klay Thompson didn't run the show. It was always Steph Curry. Steph Curry was always the guy, first and foremost, and he had to score a lot of the time. He had to score for them to win. He couldn't just facilitate. If you want to talk about a pure point guard and nothing else, we could talk about a guy like Jason Kidd, okay, Chris Paul. But point guards have to sometimes score. They have to be more than just point guards, and Steph Curry had to be more than just a point guard.
But when it mattered most, when you look at some of those games, like in when Isaiah broke his ankle and everything he was able to do in that championship game, come on, man, get out of here.
He wasn't a point guard in that game. He was taking it to the basket. He was heroic.
Yes, he
game.
had to. My point. That's my point. My point is he doesn't have to. He can when he wants to do it and he needs to do it. He's going to do it. He didn't have to do it though.
Listen, that was one game. Isaiah's great, but if you gave most GMs a choice, they were young men. They could either have Steph Curry or Isaiah Thomas. I'm sure some would take Isaiah Thomas. I think the majority of GMs would go with Steph Curry and it's more than just play on the court. Even though I think Curry's a tiny bit better, it's attitude as well. You'd rather have a Steph Curry on your team than an Isaiah Thomas.
I like both in that regard, in regards to their leadership, because I think that what they brought to their respective teams what was required, and so for that,
Brian, let's hear Brian.
Yeah, we didn't. Let's hear, yeah, because he's from Detroit too. So let's.
Yeah.
First of all, Jack, Dumars did never take lead in any game. He was the second, and he was fine with that. That was the whole makeup of the Pistons. Second of all, Curry, in his prime, playing on a Pistons team at that time, that dude wouldn't be able to do what he did. I'm telling you that right now because they played rough defense. They see him starting to shoot like that. And to James's point, the dude is one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. There's no doubt about that. And that's the thing. I got an argument with Steph Curry, too, because Steph Curry changed the game. Because now everybody's shooting three because everybody thinks they can beat Steph Curry, and they can't. And that's the problem that these teams have. We got a guy that can shoot 35%. While Steph Curry's shooting 49, 50% three-pointers all the time. Everybody's trying to measure up to that. But that's not how – that's why today's game sucks. And it's not Steph Curry's fault. It's because everybody has a blueprint after that, and it's not fair to him to say a lot of people mess up with Stephen Curry and say, hey, the dude brought the bad part of the game to the NBA. No, he didn't. He brought his game. He is a pure shooter, and you don't have it. And James is right. There's not a lot of defense played in this era of basketball, so he can go out there and do all those miraculous shots that he does, and he's very good at it because he's still a pure shooter at the end of the day. But to have him come on the Pistons and switch sides, I'm gonna put it to you like the reason why both these guards are great because if you took them off their teams, they wouldn't win the championships that they win. I'm telling you that right now. You took Isaiah off that Pistons championship, they wouldn't win those championships. If you took Steph Curry off of those teams, even with Kevin Durant, they wouldn't win those championships because we can see what Kevin Durant does on teams. He still ain't winning championships. So Curry is the glue, just like Isaiah is the glue to his team. So I just don't think that you could probably flip-flop. Isaiah in his prime would probably do really good on Golden State because there's no defense. He wouldn't. He'd be like, well, damn, where the hell is the defense at?
Exactly. Exactly.
Steph Curry though, he ain't gonna go. Well, he never really goes to the rim that much anyway, unless the game is on a line or something like that. He'll do that just to fake out people, and he can do that. He's real good at doing that too. But in the era that was played in the NBA at that time, no. He would have got clotheslined. Somebody would have gave him an elbow. He would have been knocked down. Yeah, they would have got fouled. They would have called fouls, probably techs even. But I tell you what, he would have thought about that shot again. That's what I'm saying. See, this is a different era of basketball. I can see where you can give both of these guys their due credit and compare them because one changed the game in his era. Another one, basically he was an underrated guard. Isaiah's an underrated guard. He's probably one of the best guards out there, but he's underrated because he plays for Detroit. There's a lot of players that do that. The only player I can tell you that doesn't have that moniker is Barry Sanders because you can't take away that talent. But a Detroit athlete comes out, it's like, He did this.
Okay, so I'm outvoted 2-1 in overtime. Okay, guys. Okay.
I'm just making a point.
Okay.
But anyway, those are good questions. Jack, thank you for those. And comes to the end of the show. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Saturday. Check us out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the Big Sports Show with us and Keith. And everybody have a great weekend.
See you guys tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow morning.